Tedward here for Winding Road Magazine. Today we've got a little bit of a unicorn. This is a 2013 Acura TSX Wagon. In the US, we don't have much options for wagons. Pretty much stuck with a Jetta Sport Wagon or a Volvo. The TSX Wagon uses a 2.4 liter inline 4, which produces about 201 horsepower, around 7,000 RPM. But the real special thing about this car is the cargo space. You can see the old Volkswagen cargo mats from this previous owner's car. He used to have a Volkswagen Jetta Sport Wagon TDI, but it was bought back in Dieselgate, and this is what he replaced it with. Don't really know why they went with black and chrome on this. And when we're inside the cabin, very well insulated. We just had some very loud trucks going by. Now I feel like I'm in a Honda Cocoon. Still get a cool key, no push to start button, so old school, plug her on in. I guess that works. The infotainment system in this feels a little dated. I haven't spent much time with it though, so that's not really a fair assessment. It's more just the fact that that map looks like it came from Encarta. I can't get used to this. This is such an odd shift lever because I feel like I want to hit this button like this, but you've got to pull it up, not push it forward. It's hinged on the bottom. I used to always say that the best way to figure out if someone had no idea what they were talking about with cars is when they describe acceleration as peppy, but for the first time, that's kind of how I would describe this. A little bit of throttle input goes a long way. Cabin's very quiet. I feel like I'm in something much more expensive than this. The base price of these TSX wagons were around $36,000. I'm sure with a few options you get them up to 40. They're holding their value pretty well, so if you are looking for one on the used market, you're going to expect to pay somewhere between 20 and 30 grand depending on the miles. transmission's really smooth on the upshifts, and Honda seems to know what's going on with their torque curve, because they let this car rev up quite a bit before it actually upshifts. So you're not put in that position where it's trying to short shift you. There's quite a bit of sidewall on these tires, so you certainly feel some squirm, but the chassis is fairly rigid. I guess Honda's clever, they gave me an on-off button. Most folks who are interested in wagons tend to be car people. You know, they're not all soccer moms. I always feel like if you don't like wagons, you can't really be a car enthusiast, because wagons are super cool. And the one downfall of these TSX wagons is they only came with these 5-speed automatics. And that's a shame. It would be really great to have with the Honda 6-speed manual gearbox. And there's people who do the swaps, but if you're waiting for this to destroy itself first, you're going to be waiting a long time, because that's a pretty reliable gearbox. Brakes, very progressive, very Honda. There's not a really aggressive initial bite, and they're a little bit overboosted, so they're very easy to use. It'd be easy to get this car to engage ABS, which we'll do in a moment. Revs its way out to 7,000 RPM. And let's get into the brakes a little bit. There's another drive mode selection here, so let's go ahead and put it in S for sport mode. Already kicked me down a gear. Not that it matters, but let's see what it does from a dig. Picks up a little bit over 4,500 RPM, but for the most part, a fairly linear and progressive power band. And the car weighs 3,500 pounds and change, probably with some fuel and oil, so you've got to expect that 200 horsepower does not go a very long way. They do give you these little paddle shifters. That's not bad if you want to just keep the revs up. Probably this car's natural habitat, suburban neighborhood, manicured lawns, Acura TSX Wagon. It's a pretty quick steering rack. Gotta hand it to Honda. They've always made driving dynamics in every car they do natural, progressive, and enjoyable to drive. I mean, there's no reason this should be a fun car, but it is. A little bit of chirp from these all-season tires. These New England roads aren't exactly great, and I'm really impressed with the NVH in this car. It's very quiet, it's very well put together. It definitely punches above its weight class as far as the price when you're talking about creature comforts. It may not be an exotic, it may not have an exotic exhaust note either, but honestly, I'm really happy with the way this thing drives. And there's the police, so hopefully we're not about to just meet them. But he might like me because I've got this camera on my head, so we're gonna find out about that. That would be a winding road first, pulled over on camera. I've got pretty good visibility out of this cabin. The rear glass is somewhat small for a typical hatchback, but honestly I can see everything out of it. The only thing that is a little weird is the scrunched glass all the way at the back there on that corner. But it's not like a 350Z or anything like that, so you certainly still get a nice greenhouse effect in this car. Drop down a couple gears for me there. All the torque in this motor feels like it's right in that mid-range, so I don't have to give it much throttle to feed an extra 5 miles an hour. And you're certainly not overworking a Honda motor at under 3,000 RPM. And somehow we end up behind two brand new white TLXs. One's a Lexus. Sorry, I didn't use my blinker there. My inner BMW driver's coming out. So there you have it, the unicorn car that everyone's always talking about as their perfect daily driver, the Acura TSX Wagon. Definitely lacking in the power department, but chassis-wise, fantastic. You can have a lot of fun in this day to day as long as you're throwing it into some corners and carrying some speed. I'm Tedward, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.